right, Jameshillsports with a Orlando icon. Chucky has been able to play basketball around the world. Talk a little bit about the game of basketball and how much of a blessing it can be.
Well, I mean, the game of basketball can be a blessing in many different ways. You know, it teaches you life skills, it teaches you how to be responsible and accountable to other individuals. It teaches you how to interact with other individuals, and if you put a lot of time into it and you perfect your craft and your skills, it can take you places that you never probably thought you could be. You know, like with me, I never thought that basketball would take me around the world, take me to different countries. Never thought that basketball would, be able to provide for so many people in my family. So, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
South Florida, well, Evans High School, South Florida, the phone rings, Doc Rivers. Take us back into the arena and Amway Center and what it was like in those days.
Well, it'd be funny. I mean, just to recall it, it was a surreal moment. You know what I'm saying? As an Orlando kid, being here in Orlando, going to Evans High School and pretty much, being in Edenville, being in Winter Park, being in Orlando, knowing everybody knowing me. To be playing professional sports in your home is like a dream come true, and it was kind of rocky at the beginning. I can remember when I first got in the game and people wanted to, you would hear people saying, is this real? And, put Darryl back in the game and things like that. And then as I started showing that I belonged and that I was actually a pretty decent basketball player, I think people kind of thought the whole situation. And, it became a really good situation for me. It became a situation where, it turned into something that was real. 11, 13 years later, 11, 12, 13 years later, I was still in the NBA. And, like you said, I'm still here trying to give back and try to show all these other kids around here that if I can do it, they can do it as well.
The Los Angeles Lakers, one of the major icons for sports. You ran the point. Kobe was your two. You guys, did what Lakers do. But take us back to that season.
That season was kind of tumultuous for us. I mean, obviously, I had an opportunity to play with Kobe, which was a dream come true. But we had a lot of injuries. We had a lot of players playing the same position. But that season was just a season where it was the first year playing without Shaq. And we just had too many injuries that we couldn't really, get over the hump in the West, which, at that time was the better of the two conferences. So, that was kind of that year for me.
Stops in Memphis, stops in Detroit. I covered you at Washington. Take us into some of those situations.
Washington, for me, was like a situation where they had just came off a playoff run. They had a guy by the name of Gilbert Arenas, and, they traded for me, which is a guy who, they felt like they needed to make a nice playoff run because I was probably the only guy that had any type of playoff experience on the team, but it just wasn't a good fit for me. And it was time for me to move on. Sometimes in professional sports, you want to play, but sometimes the situation isn't right for you. So, it was a great situation. I had the opportunity to get to know Gilbert and, obviously Antoine Jameson. A lot of times in the pros, you want to see what make another guy good. What type of work ethic does he have? What type of guy is he? What type of person he is? What are his habits? And, I was able to get around some good guys and figure out what made them so good and, and what type of habits they had.
Now, you do a lot of coaching and giving back with Each One Teach One, but talk about opportunities young guys have now. I mean, they can play in beautiful gyms and venues. Back when we were coming up, guys played a lot outside, but talk a little bit about what it's been like to give back and to see guys, local guys, able to, play at a high level.
Well, today is a total different day. Like, the game has evolved so much. Social media is so big. You have more opportunities to be seen. See, a lot of times in basketball, a guy can be good, but if he's not in the right place at the right time, he can be overlooked. Whereas now you got social media, you got all these different, Adidas guys have their own circuit, Nike have their own circuit, Under Armour have a circuit. So a kid could very well, if put in the right situation, be seen on all three different circuits in the same year, and that gives him a better opportunity of being successful. Whereas with us, there wasn't no social media. You pretty much had to be, you know, somewhere where everybody was, and if you weren't at those tournaments, then you weren't seen. So it was pretty much word of mouth, and you know, it's just a different day.
In closing, any final comments as we think about your story and your saga, and again, a tremendous opportunity to see the world and bounce a ball and just be passionate about basketball?
I mean, that's what it's all about. You know, do what you love. And basketball was my love. I would do it all day. These kids today, they have the world at their fingers. Like, you can get up and you can find out how Steph Curry works out. Get on YouTube. You can find out how Kyrie Irving works out. You can find out all these different things that we couldn't do. So you have a better opportunity with more situations where you can be seen and more, you know, you can build your brand. Basically, it's building your brand, and you know, it's a better day today. So I advise the kids to keep honing their skills, continue to love the game, and put their all into it.
When you look at the Lakers this year, what do you see? I mean, I see a lot of talent, but when you look at that club, how deep can they go?
I mean, to me, that's to be determined. I mean, when I see the Lakers right now, I just see good names on the paper. You know, just the best teams don't always win. As you seen last year, Golden State Warriors probably would have won it all had they not had injuries. So a lot of stuff is going, you know, has to be solidified. You got to have good chemistry. You got to have good luck. No one get injured. And, you know, the pieces got to fall into place. So do they have a good team on paper? Yes. Is it guaranteed that they're going to win it? Absolutely not.
When you're talking about 100 games, 82 games, preseason, and then the playoffs, talk about the grind. People at home, we don't really understand that, but you guys know it from the inside out.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what you get paid to do. In order to survive, you got to first take care of yourself and be able to know how to take care of yourself. You know, you're playing 5 games in 7 nights sometimes. You're playing 4 games in 6 nights sometimes. And your body is really not made for that type of activity. You know, you're playing at a high level. The speed of the game is fast. You're playing against other high elite athletes. You know, you got to really take care of your body, and you got to be smart. Like, I say this. One of the things the NBA taught me was the fact that when I first got in the league, you wanted to be flashy. You wanted to do everything with 100 dribbles. Well, you going in that 5th game or that 4th game in 5 nights, you ain't gonna want to do all that dribbling. So you learn to be more efficient and to minimize your movements so that you can rest and save your energy, because all that wiggling, by the time you get to game 72 and a game 68 or the game 65, your body and your legs are dead. And I think that's what you find with a lot of these younger guys today. They come into the game, they come into the league with a lot of energy, but then once they realize how hard it is and how much energy it takes to play in a game, and you're playing against other top tier athletes, they start smartening up, and they get better.
Talk a little bit about, take us back to the first day you walked on the floor and it had Magic and a big star and pinstripes on your chest.
It was just a dream come true. I mean, you can't really even explain it. Like, you grow up with the dreams and aspirations of being an NBA player, and you walk into a locker room and you see the jersey and you see the shorts on the chair, and then you actually get out there on the basketball court and you're seeing all these guys who maybe you've looked up to or you've had posters on your wall of them on your wall. It's a surreal moment, you know. And like I said, it took me a while to get used to, because when I first got out there, like, I remember we played New York Knicks one night in Orlando Arena, and Patrick Ewing was like one of my favorite players, you know, with the Knicks. And I even had a pair of his shoes, you know, when I was coming up. And I spent like maybe the first quarter like looking at him like, wow, like, that's Patrick Ewing. You know what I'm saying? And then it dawned on me like, hey man, you got to come out here and you got to play against him. You can't sit out there and admire him just because you're a fan. You got to compete, and you got to compete to win. And once I kind of got over that with everybody, then it was kind of smooth sailing.
In closing, any final comments as we think about the game of basketball? And again, it's a beautiful thing when you can set a goal and achieve it.
Yeah, absolutely. Set your goals high. Go after them with all your heart and all your mind, and not leave anything to be regretted. Like, I think a lot of times that's what people do. Like, at the end of the day, they don't put their best foot forward, or they don't put their all into it, and then they regret not doing it. You know what I mean? If I can say anything, is put your all into it, live with the results, be able to live with the results, and not be afraid to fail.